All right, my people. AB, I see you in the chat. Appreciate you with the follow, my brother. Welcome in. As you can see, if you can't, if you can't fucking read, I'll explain it to you. We're gonna be watching Myron talk to CIA analyst Larry Johnson, and he's gonna be breaking down the rest of the war with us today. The only thing I've heard today so far was Trump was escalating the troops that he's going to be sending in. It went from like 5,000, now it's at 10,000, I think. So um, that's going on. And then Israel bombed some more of Tehran's infrastructure. So ground invasion might be happening, and Israel's still bombing. So let's see what former CIA analyst Larry Johnson has to say about this. Appreciate everybody in the chat for coming today. Today's Friday. Let's get right into it. I don't like wasting time. Let's go.
The bitch shaking it, showing it. You this, you that. We laughing at them together. Oh! So stop treating these mother like they mean something.
Let's go to TikTok. All right, let's get right into it. You know, I do not like to waste anybody's time because time is very important. Let's see what my guy Larry Johnson has to say.
Larry, I know who you are, but for the people that don't know who you are, can you please introduce yourself?
Well, right now I'm an old guy, so
you know what? Let's see if we can find Larry on here. Former. He came up pretty quick. Is this him? He might be a little bit older now, but it looked like him. American blogger, political commentator, and former analyst at the Central Intel CIA. He is the co-owner and CEO of Business Exposure Reduction Group Associates and the co-founder of Veteran Intelligence Professionals for Sanity. Okay, so PTSD, I'm thinking. Okay, Larry, all right.
I started with the Central Intelligence Agency in 1985. I was in a career trainee program, spent 4 years there, got fed up, left, was invited to take a job at State Department in the Office of Counterterrorism, which I did. I was Deputy Director for Transportation Security, Anti-Terrorism Training and Assistance. And it supported the special operations community. Stayed there for 4 years. I got out, started my own consulting business.
Was this in the 90s, right? You were with the
from... So I was state 89 to 93.
Okay.
And then
with both CIA and state. So obviously right now we're in a very pivotal moment.
And guys, I'm not here to really like get the full video. I'm just here to get I want to hear what he has to say about the war. I don't really give a fuck about the intro for real. So I will be skipping some parts where they're just like yapping, trying to get to the fucking meat.
Some crazy things have happened over the past few weeks with the conflict with Iran. And I know obviously you've been in the government for a while ago, and even back in the 80s, right. They were trying to start something with Iran. So I'll kind of just turn it to you. What are your thoughts on Iran in general? What are your thoughts on the conflict, how Trump is handling it? I'll just kind of leave it open-ended, and you can kind of just go and break it down however you feel.
Iran has gotten a very bad rap from the beginning. We're always told that they're the #1 sponsor of terrorism. They are not by nowhere close, not even in the ballpark. So that's lie number one. Lie number two is they've killed thousands of Americans. Also not true. The thing that I hear a lot of Americans say, well, God, they chant death to America. What have we done to them? Well, let me tell you. So we overthrew a democratically elected government in 1954 with Teddy Roosevelt's son, Kermit, not the frog, Kermit Roosevelt, installed the Shah, who ran a pretty brutal regime, and he was overthrown by a popular uprising. It was not organized by CIA. In fact, that's sort of what is CIA off all of these years, that the people actually rose up, threw out the Shah, and established an Islamic Republic. So then a group of students, they got mad at the United States when we took the Shah of Iran in California. And so they captured our embassy in Tehran, took a bunch of people hostage. And I knew a couple of them. One name Ann Swift as an example. Unfortunately, she's now dead. So in September of 1980, Jimmy Carter's president, Zbigniew Brzezinski's his vice president or his national security advisor. And they decided to give Saddam, there's this guy, Saddam Hussein. Don't know if you've ever heard of him.
No, I have no idea.
He was running Iraq, and they said, hey, Saddam, if you want to invade Iran, these new crazy mullahs, you got our backing, buddy. And so Saddam did, started a war. Ronald Reagan comes in January 81 as a guy working for him named Don Rumsfeld. And Don Rumsfeld travels to Iraq to meet with Saddam Hussein and to offer Saddam Hussein precursor chemicals. Chemicals for what? For making a chemical weapon, a weapon of mass destruction.
Sounds familiar.
And so in August of 1983, Iran, with our assistance, builds its first chemical weapon, launches it against Iran. And then from August of 83 to August of 1988, Iraq launched a total of 20 chemical weapon attacks against Iran. And what did those dastardly mullahs do in Tehran? They did not build a chemical weapon. They did not use chemical weapons in retaliation. They stayed away from it because they viewed it as a sin. Also during this time, there's a former, I'll call him a former friend of mine simply because he's deceased, Walter Patrick Lang, who set up the Arabic program at West Point in 1975, 76. He was the defense attaché to Saudi Arabia and to Yemen. He later went on to become chief of the Middle East Division of the Defense Intelligence Agency. And lo and behold, 1987, 1988, his job was to hand carry U.S. government intelligence to the government of Iraq so they could use it to kill Iranians. As a result of U.S. assistance to the government of Iraq, more than 300,000 Iranians died. So when someone says, well, why do they chant death to America? That's why. That's one big reason why. Another reason is in my former office at State, the time is called the Coordinator for Counterterrorism. In 1997, they designated a foreign terrorist organization called the MEK, M-E-K, Mujahideen Iqal, as a terrorist organization. Then when we invaded Iraq in 2003, because Saddam was now no longer our friend, we discovered that the MEK had set up a camp there in Iraq, and they were attacking Iran. So what happened? The CIA took them under their wing, my old outfit, and then eventually moved them to Albania, provided them weapons, provided them training, provided them money, and then the MEK was used to carry out terrorist attacks in Iran. So my point is, the United States likes to play like it's the victim, and by God, we're the terrorists, not Iran. We're the terrorists.
Yeah.
And the Americans are going, wait a second, guys, I show you the record. You show me one terrorist attack that Iran is carrying out in the United States, just one. And you can't because it hasn't happened.
Yeah.
They'll say, well, what about the Marine barracks in October 1983? Yeah, what about that?
They love that one.
What happened in September of 83? U.S. battleships off the shore of Lebanon were shelling into the Bekaa Valley, Shia children, men who were not combatants. And guess what? People who lose family members that we've attacked. Excuse me, my dog's barking.
No, you're fine.
People who lose family members as a result of U.S. military action, they might hold a grudge occasionally, and they carried out that grudge in October. Again, it was attacking a military target, though. It wasn't attacking civilians. And that's a critical thing to remember. Definition of terrorism, the use of violence against civilians for political purposes. Because if you're using violence against guys in uniform, sorry, that's called war, okay? You get to wear a uniform, carry a gun, you get to shoot back if you get the chance. And if your luck's against you and you die. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
So this entire thing, now we jump ahead to December 26th, meeting in Geneva. The Iranians come out and say, yeah, that's a pretty good meeting. We got some progress. We think there's more to talk about. We'll see you guys on Monday. And that would have been Monday, March 2nd.
Yep.
Except on Saturday, February 28th, the United States, and in a way like the Japanese did to us at Pearl Harbor in 1941, December 7th, launched a surprise attack that tried to decapitate the Iranian leadership. And we 175 schoolgirls, ages 6 to 12. And there was a 3 day old baby in the lot too. Just so and gee, for some reason, the Iranians got upset. Can you imagine?
Yeah,
I mean,
it's like,
why can't they just sit there and take a beating from us without getting upset? And so they turned around and said, okay, this is war. And we've been at war now. That the Israelis had convinced Donald Trump that, oh, we just kill these guys and piece of cake will be over in
they
3 or
lied
4
to him.
days.
4 days, yeah. Like, stock market will be back on Monday, Tuesday. We'll be back recovered. We'll get this thing done. I think the Venezuela operation really increased Trump's hubris, and he really thought, I could get this done over a weekend. We'll decapitate and everything. And, because I've been covering the war extensively, right? And I've watched you on different other shows, and you did an interview with my friend Suleiman, which I was like, oh, this is fantastic. So, and obviously
Suleiman's good.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Did you see
So,
Cash
and
Patel
getting
got hacked
insight
by
would be
Iran?
great. So,
Okay,
no, I
didn't see that.
in this quagmire for 3 weeks, right? It looks like one day Trump is saying this, then he's saying this. Price of
But ever since the beginning of the war, Trump has said it's going to be a couple days. Then he said it's going to be a week. Then he was like, it's going to be maybe 8 weeks. And he's like, it's going to be a couple months. And he's like, it might happen. It might last the whole year. Like, he don't know when the fuck it's going to end, because he knows that it's not going to end until he fucking, accepts that he shouldn't have been doing this.
energy has gone up
And backs
ridiculously.
out.
We're talking about,
Or
20
he
Australian
just
moves is
sends
pretty
a
much closed
super.
unless you're paying $2 million
That's what I'm
to go
saying.
buy.
Unless he just sends a whole bunch of troops, because like the only way you're going to get the regime change is if you send the troops, and the only way you're going to be able to invade Iran with the troops is if you send a bunch of them, and you're going to have to send so many. It's going to be pointless. Like, for us, it's literally going to be pointless for us to send as many troops. We're not going to be able to do that.
Qatar's natural gas is pretty much cooked with LNG being down. The Iranians have targeted intelligently the Gulf to put more pressure on the United States, etc.
Right.
And we're kind of like in a weird spot right now where I think it's pretty clear that air power is not, accomplishing all the strategic objectives. And now there's talk about this Karg Island, invasion. That's the latest with the conflict. What are your thoughts about where we are now? What are your thoughts about the MEU allegedly, invading the Karg Island? Or is that going to be a diversion for something else? What's your thoughts on all that?
Okay, I'll get into that in a second. I want to ask you a question.
Sure.
So think back to your time in high school, middle school. What were you told? How did the war in the Pacific against the Japanese in World War II end? What brought that to an end?
The atomic bomb, as well as Stalin invading and getting closer to Japan on the ground.
I'm glad you added the last part, because most
Absolutely.
Americans are brainwashed. Oh, it was the atomic bomb. No, it wasn't. It was there have been a lot. We saw over 700,000 Japanese, but the Japanese weren't ready to surrender until the Soviets came in, and the Japanese tried to negotiate with them. And the Soviets said, "Niet, no, you got an unconditional surrender," and that's when they caved.
Yeah.
So
a lot of Americans don't know that. So because I've had to say that many times. And when I tell people that you can't win a war by air power alone, they say, "Oh, we dropped 2 atomic bombs." I was like, "No, dude, it was the Soviets that made them really surrender."
So where are we right now? I saw on there's called the Frog Intel on X, and it was referenced by someone called OSI Intel. Open Source Intelligence Defender is the X account.
Oh, I think Rerum. I think you're talking about Rerum, the one that does the updates like every couple minutes, right?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
And what they showed were 35 flights that have taken place since March 12th, and they're going to all of these military bases, and they list the number of flights that they made. And I looked at those military bases; they're all special operations bases. And so there's only, in my experience, and this isn't based upon any classified information, but in my experience, when you get air movement out of those bases, you're doing one of two things. You're doing an exercise, or you're doing a deployment for real world activity. What I saw, so they've gone to Fort Bragg, where Delta Force is. They've gone to Naval Oceana Air Station in Virginia, where SEAL Team 6 is, and other SEAL teams. They've gone to Hunter Army Airfield in Georgia, where the 75th Ranger Regiment 1st Battalion is. They've gone to Joint Base Lewis McChord in Washington, where the 75th Ranger 2nd Battalion is located, I believe. They've gone to Fort Campbell, multiple flights to all of these. Fort Campbell, where
and this is a plane you're tracking? Just because I was looking at something. Yeah. You said it's a plane that, okay, they were tracking. Okay.
These are 35 different flights by C-17s. C-17s do one of
Remember, I told you guys, he went from we're gonna have us 5. It might have been like 1,000. Then it might went to 5,000. Then it went to 10. So He's getting these soldiers for a reason.
Things they haul either cargo like helicopters, artillery pieces, even tanks, or they haul troops. 204 at a time, and this has been going on since March 12th. Like I said, there's only two reasons to do that. It's either an exercise, and there's no exercise. So I conclude it's a real world. And then on March 13th, Trump orders the Marine Expeditionary Unit, the 31st unit. It's called the 31st. It's in Okinawa. They load up ship. They start sailing for Iran. And so on Monday, when Trump said, "We're calling a ceasefire for 5 days."
Yeah.
Oh, what happens in 5 days? Oh, the 31st MEU arrives. So based on all this, and then I learned yesterday that Donald Trump was supposed to attend a charity event at Mar-a-Lago Friday night, and he's canceled. And then
I didn't even know that.
He's supposed to go to CPAC over the weekend, and I was told he's canceled that. Now, maybe if he reverses and doesn't, cancel and attends, it's different. But if he's canceling that, he knows that something's going to happen.
Yeah.
So here's what I think is going to happen. I think the SEAL Team 6 is going to be used along with one of the Ranger battalions to attack Karg Island, to secure Karg Island, and the Delta Force will take Keshem. And it may be reversed. One of the special ops units is going to take each one of the islands, and they'll be supported by the 75th Ranger.
And you don't, and we gotta kill niggas, and niggas have to hopefully not get killed to take the island. Like, it's just, oh man, this is not a video game. Like, it sucks that they have to do this.
And they may even be supported by members of the 82nd Battalion.
I think that came out publicly because I'm looking here. I'm actually looking at rerun right now. I think said something about airborne because they put MEU airborne, but these other obviously more elite units, I didn't hear anything about them coming, but it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Now you said Keshem. You said they're going to come in through. Where's that?
Keshem is there in the Strait of Hormuz. It's another little island right off the coast of Iran. Now, what makes this so dangerous? Yeah, we can put troops in there and do what? They're not going to be able to stop the Iranians from firing drones, from firing missiles from shore. They're not going to be able to guarantee the safe passage of any ship. And again, I'm looking at these are
guys. Iran's infrastructure and terrain and landscape is so treacherous and mountainous, and it's not like it's not flat like Saudi Arabia, let's say, where it's just desert. And no, Iran has a lot of terrain, so putting troops in there isn't smart because, again, they're not using no type of troops to hurt you right now. They're just sending $1,000 drones. So imagine we put troops and they're sending $1,000 drones from miles away. From millions of miles away, they're sending them drones at you, and they're hitting. So imagine what's gonna happen when literally, Unc. Imagine what's gonna happen when they're sitting in the fucking back seat. When they're sitting in the back seat of Iran, and they're literally on their land. Like, what do you think is gonna happen? You think they're gonna be able to go anywhere? Are you crazy?
The only two logical targets, if your goal is to,
you can't even block the missiles that are coming from like the intercontinental missiles that are going to hit Israel. You're not even blocking them. You're not even blocking those. You're not even blocking the missiles that are going past the Mediterranean Sea. You're not. There are so many missiles they're not blocking. I can only imagine how bad it's gonna be. That too. That's another thing about invading is that you have to have a consistent resource supply, and if you can't get consistent resources, you're cooked. They'll just be they'll be free. They're signing their death sentences right now. Like,
way to try to affect the flow of oil and somehow try to get control of the Strait of Hormuz. because Iran will start hitting those troops with drones, FPV drones, bigger drones, and missiles. And it's going to be pretty, potentially pretty brutal.
How many?
So
I was going to ask. So you think? So we're basically talking about more of an invasion of the Karg Island, these areas here right by the Strait of to try to secure it. How many? I know we're talking about 2,500 to 4,000 Marines. How many of these special operators would you say are going to also be there if you had to take a guess? How many men
there
total?
could be probably an additional 2,000.
Okay, so we're looking at 6,000 at the most servicemen.
Well, yeah, potential. Well, but then when you get into
look, I'm telling you, right now, what's today? This is 3 hours ago. He said 6,000. I'm hearing 10,000 guys.
To if we're dealing with the full battalions of the 75th Rangers, and if we're dealing with the full battalion of 82nd Airborne, so these I'd say at a minimum we're probably looking at 6,000
minimum. Okay,
and it could be higher than that. So
6 to 10, you would say? 6 to 10, you would say?
6, 7, 6, 7.
Okay, maybe a little higher.
Okay.
But not like I said,
10,
I'm telling you, I heard 10,000 guys. I know he said 6 to 10. I know he's saying 6 is at the minimum, but I'm telling you, I heard 10,000 of them that he's sending. Because you can't just send, like, I'm telling you guys, you cannot just send bullshit, okay? And then it's like you have to send so much force in the beginning that it kind of, like, I'm telling you, it just defeats the purpose because you literally have to throw bodies in the meat grinder to get through Iran. So
anybody that's watched videos, FPV videos out of Ukraine,
fucking Dinkelberg,
you don't see the Russians or the Ukrainians standing around in groups of 5 or 6 people, because if they do, they get hit. You see them scatter. They try to be in 1s and 2s. So we're putting some of our best warriors potentially in harm's way. Now, the news right now is that Trump's cut a deal with Iran, and Iran's talking, and Iran's saying, no, we're not.
Yeah,
we don't have anything to talk to you about.
We literally watched that the other day. I think I posted that too, where Iran was like, where Trump said, yeah, we're having good talks with Iran. We're talking well, talking real peaceful. And then the Iran government is like, we're not talking about anything. He can keep making up and lying to y'all, and we watched him say that. It wasn't like we heard somebody say he said that. We literally watched him go live and say that.
But Trump keeps building that up, and I think one thing he may be doing is building a narrative. So come Friday, after their markets are closed, because he's doing this positive narrative to try to push down the price of oil, push up the price of the stock market. Come Friday, after the close of the market, he'll say, "Oops, Iran's betrayed us. They're not cooperating. We're going to have to attack." And then the attack will be on. So I sure hope I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I'd love to be wrong on this.
Well, you've been right on a lot of stuff. I've seen some of, your predictions. So, okay. So do you think this, so they're basically going to focus on the islands around the Strait of Hormuz. So we're not talking about like an actual interior invasion of the actual,
Oh, that'd be suicide.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm about to say I feel like both is even. I feel like even focusing on the islands is worse because then you really don't even have no control over where the missiles. That's what I'm saying. Like at least if you go attack the island or Iran itself, the missiles is coming from Iran. But on the island, they could be coming from any the ships, the planes, they could be coming from I don't know.
Through the mountain, at a minimum. And see, this is where the traditional notion of invasion goes off the rails. You were just a kid 20 years ago when we started the war in Iraq.
I remember vividly.
We spent the 11 months prior to launching it in March of 2003, 11 months building up troops in Kuwait and Iraq. We had the luxury. We built up 165,000. But you can't do that today because you've got the advanced intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance. You got the drones, you got the missiles. All Saddam had back then were some scuds. Mm-hmm. But now Iran's got state-of-the-art missiles. So and
Chinese intel
force
and Russian intel.
Yeah, and
Oh
Iran's
God.
total military force
Oh God. If the Houthis close that strait, bro, it's over.
with its the
That
regular
that shit
army,
is
the
done.
Aresh,
It's
the
cooked for the.
the
It's
Iranian
over
Revolutionary
if they
Guard,
close the
and then
strait down there.
the militia.
Yeah. They're like
They
equivalent of like their National Guard, the volunteer guys. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they come to that makes about 1 million. So you know if you're going to attack that, you need a minimum 3 million men, minimum
3-to-1 ratio.
And all we
That's what I'm thinking.
All we got in the army right now is about 452,000.
Man, so okay.
Damn. We only got 452K active right now, and we need about 3 million to invade. Shit, you niggas are going to kill us. They're going to kill us. Oh my goodness, Israel's going to kill us. How many IDF soldiers is there? The fuck? God damn it, they worried about how many niggas is us. It's how many goddamn IDF soldiers. We need to send them niggas.
So you think that, the objective here is going to be to control Karg Island. Now, my thing is, how are they going to get into a position to get over there without being attacked? Like that's where, how do you think they're going to actually make the drop?
I think, I think they'll fly. Right now they assembled, there are 2 bases in Jordan, 1 base in. They'll fly from there on their helicopters, so they can get
all the way
across.
to Iran. They're going to fly in a helicopter.
No, they'll fly from there to Al Udeid Air Force Base,
okay,
which is in Qatar, which is just across the Persian Gulf.
Or what's left of it, right?
There, huh?
I said, or what's left of it at this point, right?
Yeah, what's left of it, exactly. So they'll be able to launch from there. I mean, I'm just looking at if I'm doing the planning, that's how I do it.
Yeah. So they launch from there. Doesn't that make them extremely susceptible to like a counterattack or whatever? Like in my head, I'm like, we're going to drop these guys off, on this island. And it's like, what, to contain it? And then what? Like,
But Myron, you're being too logical. Will you stop that? You're being rational and thoughtful. We can't have that in government.
Yeah, what am I doing?
See, that's why you didn't succeed in government. They got rid of you. You kept asking these uncomfortable questions. But why?
Yeah, it's literally, it's like, get out of here, buddy. What are you doing? What are you talking about? So it's just insane to me, man.
Yeah, you're exactly right. You're correctly identifying what the problems are.
Yeah,
and as a result of that, I'm afraid we got to get some really good guys.
Yeah. I'll tell you this, man, because, I was 13 when we invaded Iraq and, I remember Iraq.
She peeking. She trying to see what's going on. W. Larry, though. Get your wife out the camera.
Wasn't even really able to mount a real attack or, threaten the U.S. until about 5 months into the conflict. Versus here with the Iranians, like, I mean, within an hour of the supreme leader being, they were launching missiles at all of our bases. You got to give them credit. That's obviously their Mosaic defense works. And honestly, I think at this point, even if we nuke them, it wouldn't matter. The underground missile cities there's hundreds of them all across the country. Yeah,
you're definitely right. They've prepared for that contingency. They actually, I think they fully expect that Israel's going to nuke them. Maybe not us, but well,
yeah. Look, I thought I was even saying
Israel
might nuke somebody because they like to just say and be dramatic.
Has is small. All Iran has to do is destroy 2 cities, and they've destroyed, Tel Aviv and Haifa. They've now destroyed 55% of Iran's population right there.
Yeah.
Whereas take out Tehran with a nuke, you've done about 11% of the population of Iran. The rest of them are scattered around mountain villages. There are like 10 other cities that are a million or around 1 million piece, 1 million, 2 million.
Yeah, that's another thing.
Iran will still be around.
And that's another thing that like Americans grossly underestimate is the size of this country. Like this is not Iraq, right? And they can actually fight back, and they've been doing it. So
it's time. It's Texas times 2. Okay, twice the size of Texas.
Yeah, Texas is huge.
Yeah.
So we obviously are running this operation. I agree with you that Trump made that announcement about the ceasefire more to calm down the markets, because I've noticed anytime we start to creep into the 110, 120 range, he starts to just panic and like put out a True Social post or do a emergency meeting. I remember he was down here. I think you're in Florida as well. He was in Doral.
Yeah,
and he called like an emergency broadcast.
I'm in south of Tampa.
Okay, perfect. So he was in Doral like a week or 2 ago when the prices hit about almost 120 a barrel, and he had an emergency press conference, and it's like, okay, he's trying to stop the bleeding to some degree with a bunch of posturing. But no, I mean, this is insane, man, of what's going on. And with all this, and I think I want to get your take on this. Do you think the casualties are, I think officially right now we're sitting at about 13 KIA? 14 now?
14 KIA.
14 KIA. And then I've heard somewhere between 200 to 300 injured significantly.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think the numbers are higher. I think they're lying about it.
Okay.
They're trying to classify some that are combat casualties as accidents, etc.
Mm-hmm.
So exactly, that's what I was about to say.
Where are you in Florida, roughly?
I'm down in Miami.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I've been. You see what's been happening to the price of gasoline?
Oh, it's nuts, dude.
Up here. It's up at least $1.10 in the last 4 weeks.
I got people in my chat. I did a poll with my guys in my chat, and I said, "Hey, give me the price of a gallon of gas in your state and what it was before." Like some guys in California were telling me $8. Crazy.
Mm-hmm. No, I just a former professional golfer,
damn,
a buddy of mine, Brad Adamonis.
Oh my
he just sent me. He's out in California playing in a senior tournament, and he just sent me a picture of the gas. It's $8.
Insane.
Oh my God.
I can't remember. Was there? I remember gas was really high when we invaded Iraq. I have like a childhood memory that scarred me for life about that. But I don't think I've ever seen a gallon of gas at $8. Have you?
No, at least not back here. Now, tell you what, if we see $8 in Florida, that's a sign of the apocalypse.
Yeah, we're cooked. And the crazy part is, the thing that scares me the most about this, Larry, is we have Trump making these comments about, we'll go ahead and escort you with the Navy. We have this ceasefire in place. We're going to release 400 million barrels of oil. Right? They've been doing all of this massaging to try to bring the price down, and we're still sitting well above $100 for Brent crude.
Where do I sub, bro? I don't even know. I gotta figure that out.
We still
don't worry, we'll figure that out during the stream.
When I go live, this isn't going to end. It's going to keep going.
Well, I'll figure that out this weekend. I gotta figure out super chats and everything too for YouTube and Facebook. So don't worry.
I wish we could elect you. I'd have a lot more confidence in you.
Don't worry, I appreciate that.
Current guy. So you're gonna impose sanctions on Russia and Iran. Why would you impose sanctions on them?
To try to crash their economies.
Yeah, you want to hurt them, right?
Yeah.
And so why then, when Iran starts punching back and closes the Gulf, do you lift all the sanctions on Russia and Iran?
Yeah, it's fun. Larry, you're making too much sense. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like,
hey,
really?
You're an Iran sympathizer. Are you getting paid by the IRGC? Huh?
Yeah. I wish. Where's my check?
Yeah. Right?
Cheap.
Yeah.
So that shows you that Trump and Bessent were panicked.
Yeah.
Now, some may differ with my characterization of that, but there's no other explanation. The only explanation.
You're 100% right, dude. They tried to crash the real and it backfired too. The protesting thing was, they tried with the uprising in January and they failed monumentally.
Yeah, absolutely. So, have you heard what's happened now to oil in Iran? You'll love this. This is from Trita Parsi. Before the war started, Iran was pumping 1.1 million barrels of oil, selling it at a net price of $47 a barrel.
Okay.
Now, 3 weeks later, Iran is pumping
1.1 million at $47 a barrel.
1.5 million, so they're up 400,000 barrels per day, and they're selling it at $97 a barrel.
Jesus
more than
Christ.
double the price.
Wow. These niggas are getting rich.
And sanctions are temporarily lifted on them as well, which is crazy.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
It's like this is so bad. It's like in my head, I'm like, and I'm sure you heard this too, Larry, right? Oh well, you guys need to just trust the plan. Trump is playing 4D chess. Him invading is, he took Venezuela, so now the Chinese had to go to the Iranians. Now he's messing with the Iranians. They're going to get that oil too, and we're going to weaken them. And it's like it completely backfired because China's still getting oil. The Russians have been able to make money hand over fist because sanctions are lifted, and then the people that we're in war with, you lift the sanctions on them. This is like I don't think the general American public knows that this is what's going on here. Like it's nuts.
Well, and I know exactly.
And that's what people don't understand is that there's nothing going like Iran and their people. They're good. They're all right. There ain't shit too bad happening over there in Iran besides the bombings. That's about it. Their stuff is still moving through the strait because they control the strait. We're the ones who are fucking everybody else, though. The UAE, the Qatar, Kuwait, Saudi, we're fucking everybody else, and they're getting mad at us while Iran's people are straight. China ain't getting mad. Russia ain't getting mad at them. You see what I'm saying? Because they're still able to do what they need to do.
What happened in Vietnam, because my former business, I call him former business partner. I mean, we're, still great friends, and we just got to the age where, okay, we're going to go off and do our own things. He was the one that brought three guys who were part of Maduro's security detail. I won't get into how he came in contact with them, but let's just say they got in contact with him, and they wanted to collect on the $50 million reward. So basically, those three guys who had rented all of Maduro's security they turned off all the weapons, all the air defense. They turned it all off. It was a cooked deal.
Yep.
That's how they pulled that off. Not with our great military expertise. And the irony of the story, those three guys, when it came time to pay, Trump stiffed them, said, "No, we're not paying any reward."
What?
Oh, wow.
My God. Because
Yeah.
Imagine,
right?
imagine you go behind your own country for some bread and then they don't pay you. I'm trying to tell you guys, you niggas, we are fucking horrible. We are some bad niggas. I'm trying to tell you, we are some bad guys. We didn't even pay the nigga. Like, goddamn. We said, give me this shit.
I know.
Give me this
obviously,
fucking
you were in the
shit.
CIA in the early '90s, right? When we were starting to really build up the momentum with the war against terrorism, right? We started to see
mid '80s.
Oh, I'm sorry, mid '80s.
I was at state, so in the Office of Counterterrorism.
Yeah.
We put out the first publication of Patterns of Global Terrorism in April of 1990.
Gotcha.
That was the first one.
My bad. I meant to say, yeah.
No, it's not your bad. Yeah.
So State Department with counterterrorism there. So I lost my train of thought.
Well, I mean, at the time, look, that was the start of Al Qaeda.
Yes.
The bombing of the World Trade Center, the first bombing, that was actually carried out by Khalid Sheikh Mohammed was the mastermind.
KSM, yeah.
And his nephew,
Ramzi Youssef.
Ramzi Youssef.
He did the World Trade Center bombing in the early '90s.
Right, and then he disappeared. We were looking for him, and then he showed up in the Philippines. He got he was part of a plot called Bojinka.
Oh, I remember what I was going to say now. Maduro's reward was more than bin Laden.
Oh,
insane.
Yeah.
Insane. That's the highest I've ever seen, ever.
Yeah,
But sorry, that was what I was going to say. I forgot, but keep going.
Yeah, no, I was the one who started the terrorism rewards program and the advertising of it.
Really?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
We before they used to have this cheesy poster with some guy with a mask pointing a gun at someone. Had said, "Give us money," to report terrorism. So we did a series of public service ads. We produced them in the summer of 1990, and I went to Hollywood. We had three Hollywood stars: Charlton Heston, Charles Bronson, and Charlie Sheen. Okay, the Charlie campaign, and it was called "Are you the next hero?" And so the script was something like, "Hello, I'm Charlton Heston. In the movies, I play a hero, but in real life, heroes are," and go on to pitch people, rat out your buddy for a reward on terrorism. Sort of a funny side story. I was working, a couple of good friends in diplomatic security. One guy's name Mike Parks, the other Brad Smith. Brad later died of Lou Gehrig's disease. But Brad was the one who came up with the matchbook, the concept of putting terrorist pictures and reward information on matchbooks, passing them out in Afghanistan and Pakistan. That led to the capture of Ramzi Youssef. But anyway, I get this frantic phone call. We're about a week away from releasing the ads, and a frantic phone call from Brad. "Oh my God, Charlie Sheen has just been admitted to Betty Ford Clinic." And I said, "So what's the problem?" He goes, "Oh my God, that's going to look bad." I said, "Hey, as long as he didn't strap a bomb on and blow himself up, we're okay, because this is not a just say no to drugs campaign. This is rat out your buddies on terrorism." So that's where the terrorism rewards program really got its start.
So that's crazy with the Maduro thing, because I knew with Maduro that there was obviously people embedded in there.
Okay, so I feel like we talked.
That were spies, right? And this doesn't mean that the Iranians don't have their problems. I mean, they got attacked back in the 12-day war because they were compromised. But,
right.
I think Trump really underestimated the power of a theocracy, Shia Islam, and how, these people are different, than Venezuela. And it's a much bigger, more harder country to deal with than Venezuela would be. So, so let's go. What do you think about, what are your thoughts on the F-15s that were shot down? They try to say that Kuwaiti friendly fire, and I can't buy that story. And then also the F-35 that was shot down. What are your thoughts on these American stealth craft?
Kuwait friendly fire. That sounds like something somebody would say if they didn't want you to know that you could shoot their planes down. Oh, it was
Getting shot
friendly
down.
fire.
Have you ever been shot at?
No, not on the job. Thank God.
Thank God. Okay, but if someone's shooting at you, would you consider that friendly fire?
No, not at all.
So the first three F-15s that got shot down, they were shot down by a Kuwaiti pilot who basically was Shia and supported Iran. Okay, so
because they tried to frame it. They tried to frame it like he was a part of the Kuwaiti military.
Yeah, he's just a confused guy. Yeah, please. No, he got almost an ace. I guess you got to get four down aircraft to become an ace. But no, he shot him down.
Where was this? That's insane. My chat's going crazy right now. They're like, what?
Yeah, that was the first week, 2 weeks of the war. Then we had the F-35 that was shot down last week. What happened with that is the Iranians are using a heat-seeking missile. So the F-35 is designed to detect an incoming missile that's using radar to find it. They'll ping and they go ding, 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 and they know they need to evade. But this was a heat seeker. And once he realized that the heat seeker was getting ready to, climb up his rear end, he fired off these, I call them flares, that are superheated to try to just deflect the missile. And the missile hit one of them, exploded, and the shrapnel from that explosion hit the F-35. That's why it was damaged severely, but not knocked out of the sky. So, Iran's not out of the fight as far as air defense goes, not at all.
So going back real quick to the F-15s, because obviously pt.6 and Kane have been saying, oh yeah, we have air dominance, air superiority, right? They were doing like a briefing at the Pentagon like every other day saying this. And then, next thing you know, these fighter jets are getting shot out the air. Because I remember one had a female pilot, and the first three that they basically, I think they survived, if I'm not mistaken. It was 3 to 4 pilots.
Yeah, they all survived. Nobody died that I know of.
But you're saying, because this is super important, you're saying the person that shot him down was a Kuwaiti citizen, but he wasn't necessarily a part of the Kuwaiti armed forces, which is allied with us.
Oh no, he's a Kuwaiti military guy. He was in the Kuwaiti Air Force.
Oh, so he just defected, I guess.
I decided at the moment, you know what, I'm off at these Americans.
Wow.
Took him out, shot him down, but didn't kill him, which is, a good result.
How was he able to I know the F-15s don't have the same stealth capabilities like a 35 or a 22, but how did he do it? Like what
my understanding, he was flying an F-16, so I guess the F-16's got a little bit of an edge over the F-15.
Oh yeah.
Now I'm not an Air Force guy, so I'll defer to any Air Force bubbas out there that want to weigh in and say, oh no, this is how this works.
Okay, so he was in his own fighter jet and he shot them down.
Yeah.
Oh, people in my chat, I'm looking right now. They're saying that he got arrested. So because some people were saying speculation, but the guy got arrested, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay, it's crazy that they didn't report that. That's a very pertinent fact that no one really talked about in Western media.
Nobody talked about.
Yeah, you got it.
Nobody.
So you got it.
She said nobody really talks about. Nobody talked about it at all. I didn't know that. I didn't know that a Kuwait nigga who was a Shia Muslim shot down the plane.
I just sort of know how to read. The advantage I have with now being a really old is I learned how to read both public information and like that KC. Remember the KC-135 that quote crashed?
Yeah,
killed the entire crew.
The tail hit the other one allegedly.
No, it got shot down.
Yeah,
it got shot down. It got shot down with a surface-to-air missile.
That's what I said too.
Yeah, absolutely. Because explain to me, how does a plane? Okay, how do these two planes collide? Because they're not trying to refuel each other. So
that's what the official narrative is. They said that it was a refueling mission, and like one hit the other's tail, and then they just crashed. That's the official story.
That's the story they came up with. Not a very good story.
Yeah. So let me ask you this then. Before the war started, I was looking at some of the upgrades the Iranians made to their military capabilities, right? I'm going to get into weeds here a little bit with the nerdy stuff. If you're familiar with it, awesome. If you don't, then we can just go to the next question. And there were some Chinese radars they purchased. One of them is like the YLC-8B, and they had a surface air missile that came alongside that. And these devices basically, counter American stealth, as we know the Chinese formulate their military based on, trying to steal our technology. Me and you both work for the government, so we know how bad the Chinese are when it comes to stealing our technology. So have those been put into play yet? I know for a fact that the Iranians got them, and they were obviously able to identify this F-35, but are they going to use it on military minded? Can you explain JDAMs and
It can glides out, and the wings help keep it. It can travel about 50 miles out. The JASM is more of a rocket, so you fire that, and it can travel about 500 miles. Mm-hmm. So that's why these planes, they didn't have to get inside. And then you had Tomahawk cruise missiles that were being launched as well, air launched. Some were, I don't think many were launched by the destroyers that were down in the Arabian Sea, because I don't think they got close enough to shore, because the Tomahawk has a limited range as well. It doesn't have unlimited range.
What are your thoughts on the Ford kind of leaving the region to get some repairs? I know that they had been there significantly longer than they were supposed to since the Venezuela mission. There were toilet plumbing issues. There was a fire on board. I heard, speculation that the Iranians hit them and they're just using that as a ruse. What are your thoughts on aircraft carriers? Because they did, push back significantly, and we haven't heard as much about them. Did they get struck? Do you think the whole laundry thing was a lie? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm glad you're sitting down.
We'll let him answer this question, and then we'll get into this real quick and finish off with this, some fun shit.
I don't want to shock you, but I think the U.S. government's lying about this. Yeah. They're not telling the full truth. So by way of comparison, I don't know if you know who Andrei Martyanov is. Andre is a podcaster. Smoothie 12X is his site. He was a Russian naval officer.
Okay. That
with the collapse of the Soviet Union, he and his wife and children came to the United States in 1992, I think. And he became an American citizen and worked at Boeing. He was a very, very smart technical guy. And he did a video presentation the other day. He reminded of what happened in 1967 off the coast of Vietnam with a U.S. aircraft carrier, the USS Forrestal. The Forrestal there was a guy named John McCain. Don't know if you ever heard of him. Mm-hmm. Former senator. He was a Navy pilot back then, and he negligently discharged one of his missiles into the deck, blew up, started a major fire on the Forrestal. It took him 19 hours to put that fire out. About 19 sailors injured, well over 160. Okay, now let's compare that to the Gerald Ford. The story is the dryers with lint, I guess they hadn't cleaned out the lint filters, caught on fire, and it took them 30 hours to put the fire out.
Yeah. Nuts.
That just doesn't pass the sniff test. Mm-hmm. But and the fact that the damage, and it did follow up on when the whole plumbing system went down. The sailing ships in the 19th century, when they had the sails, mm-hmm. they had a site on the back deck. It was called the poop deck. Mm-hmm. Now, most people assumed, that's where the sailors went to take a poop. No, poop was the French for deck. So it was a specific deck level. But in this case, on the Gerald R. Ford, they really had a poop deck. I mean, they had decks covered with poop.
Yeah, it was bad.
So, we spent $15 billion on this aircraft carrier. Took 6 years to build. And now reportedly it's going to be out of action for, someone said 14 months. I find that a little hard to believe, but, maybe that is true.
Apparently it was emergency repairs and they're going right back. That's what I heard.
Yeah.
It's emergency repairs and they're going back.
They're going back home, come back to the States. They're not going back into the
they're not going back
Red
to the
Sea.
Okay.
No.
So what are your thoughts on right now? And
yeah, we'll leave that right here. Larry has some good not mindsets, but perspectives. He has some good perspectives, and he definitely sounded like he knew what he was talking about. Appreciate the breakdown. I thought we would take a little bit more into talking about what happened throughout this week, but they're more so just talking about in general about the war, which is fine. But yeah, let's get into this something light here.
Fuck about a woman's education or
Yeah, how long does he talk to us?
My father that encouraged me to pursue a higher education. It's for present fathers. It's actually my
or capacity to earn income.
actually. You also said that men need to be more present fathers. It's actually my father that encouraged me to pursue a higher education. It said that would make me more desirable.
Not sure if you're big on history, bro, but there's a lot of parallels in the history of the Peloponnesian War and what's actually happening currently. Pretty interesting stuff. I think I know what you're talking about. I think I saw Professor Jane talk about that as well.
If I ever took
Your dad told you getting education would make you more desirable?
Yes, he did.
Oh man, he was lying to you, man.
Right, I will say he was lying to you because he's probably a cuck and a simp. But most dads try to raise their daughters like sons, so it's okay.
He wasn't.
He was lying to you.
One last thing, Myron, you're saying that
Education does not make women more attractive at all.
That's
a big feminist lie.
Men need to get money and get ripped, and then they'll get a woman. How come you aren't married if you have this humongous platform and you have all this money? How come you can't maintain a stable and healthy monogamous relationship, or even a polyamorous?
He did. That's what I'm saying. Like everybody's like, Angie left you. Why? She didn't. Well, one, she has not came out and said I just left and said fuck Myron. I don't like this guy. She hasn't came out and said that either. So it's like, I don't know why people think she just said, fuck Myron, I'm leaving. Like, she could have just left and said, I don't want to. But the whole reason she left is because she wanted a family. And Myron said no. So she didn't really leave. Myron really left her.
Relationship. How come everyone you date ends up leaving you?
Okay, let me ask you this question. Are you fucking guys?
No.
You're not. Why not?
Because I don't feel like it.
You don't feel like it. Would it be fair to say that you're picky and you're selective on who you have sex with?
Isn't everyone selective?
Well,
it's
not
a
for
personal
men,
preference.
No, that's fine. So it's your personal preference who you have sex with, right?
Sure.
Okay. Wouldn't it be fair to say that women are the gatekeepers to sex?
No. Because someone can physically overpower you and have sex anyways.
Okay.
Oh my God, here we go with the grape. Oh my God. Somebody could just overpower you. No, we're talking about normal life, bitch. God damn it.
Outside of the exception, which is rape, I'm talking about like in a consensual encounter, women control access to sex.
What if a woman desires a man more? Wouldn't that man be the gatekeeper then? It depends on the dynamic. You're saying in general terms.
In most situations, who is the gatekeeper to sex?
Depends on the most desirable person in the dynamic.
Okay.
See how she just likes to move the goalposts. GG's. I'm not going to waste my time with this one. We'll go to a different one.
We have got to the point where literally anybody can build a
GG's. We won't waste our last 10 minutes with this bullshit.
Earlier you said that you think that men should be able to cheat. I actually think that adulterers should be hung in the streets. I don't. Maybe at worst, life in prison. But I don't. Especially if you have children involved. I think no matter who's doing the cheating and the person who is like if you're getting with someone who's married and you're single, you should also be punished in that sense. This isn't what I wanted to Kim say, but I wanted to hear your thoughts about that.
Well, my thoughts are on this. Now, if you want to be monogamous I'm assuming you're coming from a religious perspective, right?
I am, yeah.
So, if you want to be monogamous for religious purposes and it's a choice, that's different. But my thing is, a lot of guys cope, they're monogamous by force because they're afraid of their girlfriend leaving them or their wife. So, they end up being at her beck and call and they're terrified to lose her. My thing is, I want guys to be in a position where they can choose to be monogamous. And unfortunately, most men don't have that privilege. They're hanging on, to the relationship.
By a thread, like, please don't. I swear, I promise.
Right? Skin of their teeth. So that's my issue. I want guys to be monogamous by choice, not by force.
Okay. And what I really wanted to come up here and talk to you about is you mentioned earlier about repealing the 19th, and you think that men are granted the right to vote by birth and women should earn it. I actually think we should be more restrictive about that. I think that not everyone...
The right to vote?
Yeah, even if you're a man, I don't think you should necessarily be granted the right to vote. I think, like you said, you need to have skin in the game, and I wanted to know if you share that opinion.
You could have them take a civics test or something like that. But
sure, I like that.
My bottom line is like, for men, cool. We could put parameters in there or whatever. My main thing is like I just don't think women should have the automatic, ability to vote right off rip, like they do right now, where they have no responsibility over. They have authority, but they don't have any responsibility to armed services.
Would you like to chat about where we should draw the line for just anyone for the right to vote, as if?
I would say for men, I mean, you can implement maybe a civics test, maybe a year or two of mandatory military service. There's different things that you can do that you can explore.
What about people like that who still don't have as much of a stake in society, or they benefit from the degradation of society, even if they pass their civics test and they do their...
All right, so what parameters did you want to instill?
I believe that you should have children as a parameter to vote, because you already invested in the future of the society if you have a child, at least one. I think that you should have land as well. If you don't have a child, you should have a business, not necessarily land, but a business with at least 2 employees. And I think military service is a big one. If you're willing to voluntarily go into the military, I think that should give you the right to vote. But I don't think that everyone should have the right to vote.
I agree. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, putting parameters on it, because there's a lot of dudes that are retards too. Yeah. But again, I'm starting like at base level 0.
Base level, yeah, because that's
obviously
where we are
you
right
can
now.
build up from there and add parameters on the male side too. But the point I'm trying to say is like at bare 0, like it shouldn't be women have the right to vote right there alongside a guy. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay. I agree with that. And one
So
more thing.
2
what do you
niggas
think
that
of
agree.
9/11?
Saudi Arabia, U.S., and Israel.
Oh, it was it was a combination of different entities, right? Like I know a lot of people want to say the Jews did it. Like that's a bit disingenuous and omits quite a bit of fact. It was a combination of the U.S. government, obviously Al Qaeda, Israeli intelligence, and the billionaire class, right? It was multiple people working, whether compartmentalized or unbeknownst to each other or known, and ended up happening. And there's obviously a lot of evidence for this, but I think the topic that always gets omitted when we talk about 9/11 is the Israeli intelligence angle that no one ever wants to talk about.
Okay. Thank you for your time.
No worries, man.
Yep. Not a bad questions, not bad questions at all. Appreciate brother for coming up.
Yo, what's up, Myron?
Yo.
I have a quick question. So you were talking about earlier when you clarified that if you were going to be the president, you kind of like measure people by their IQ to see like what roles they would fill out. Correct? I was here like later while you're in mid sentence. So I just want you to clarify what you meant by that.
Yeah, I was fucking around, man.
All right, well then I'll go move over to the next topic. So what do you agree with like the two-party system? Do you think like a third-party system would be able to win a presidency like the Green Party or Libertarian at some point?
Well, both parties don't really serve us, right? Like Democrats are faggots.
God damn it.
Republicans are owned by Jews.
I mean, Dems are owned by them too.
And independents a lot of the times are just they tend to not have enough pull to actually win an election. So we'll see what happens. But I think aligning with any party nowadays is kind of retarded.
Yeah,
I was just about to say
for
that.
example, like the British
you might
Parliament,
just be a
even though
little
they do have
retarded
parties,
if
they
you're
do
doing
have
that.
many parties that are able to like kind of even everything out. Versus here, we have the two-party system that's just completely faulty and outdated.
Yeah, very, very outdated because obviously society's changed quite a bit, so it's not necessarily as black and white, right? I would argue like most people tend to be, they'll be right wing on some issues or they'll be left wing on some other ones, right? Maybe culturally they'll be right wing, but then politically they'll be left wing. Like it depends. Yeah. Everyone's different, but I do think that the two-party class system that we have doesn't really serve us in the best light, and we're seeing that, right? Like Trump literally campaigned on no new wars, and what's he doing? He started a fucking war with Iran, which is retarded.
So to build with that, knowing what you know today about everything that's going on, would you, going back to the election, would you vote for Trump or would you pick Kamala Harris, knowing what you know today?
There's no way I would have voted for Kamala Harris. No way.
And
she's so incompetent and retarded. Like, even though I don't
Bro.
like what Trump is doing, he was still a far better candidate.
Bro, when I mean Kamala couldn't even make a fucking sentence, I'm like, damn, bitch, like, did you not rehearse before you came in here? Then they asking her questions. I forgot the quote she used to always say. And you know how I know how all of US is together. Like, she's a funny one.
And she actually wrote in her book how like me and Andrew Tate kept her from winning, which is pretty dope. But yeah, like I would have never voted for Kamala.
So do you
can't
think
have a female president, man.
Yeah. Do you think moral standpoint is outside of politics? Because obviously we know what everything that Donald Trump's did in the Epstein files versus Kamala Harris's policies just like don't align with what you view with. Are you going to take the moral high ground and vote for someone who you think is a less political candidate? Or are you going to like get rid of the morals and just go for who you think is going to lead the country better?
I think you got to go for whoever's going to be the better candidate, right? Like I know a lot of people vote on like their feels.
Yeah.
But realistically speaking, I think it's best to put the guy in, or the guy, not the woman, but put the guy in that's going to be the best candidate for the job and get the most stuff done.
But don't you think there's levels to it? Like the fact that it's not just like, oh, he like called someone like a racial slur. The fact that he's been accused by 40, 50 women raping. He's deep in the Epstein files. He's deep into the Jewish area. I mean, like you got to look at like what he's in.
Yeah, that's a problem. But I still wouldn't vote for Kamala.
Is it because purely because she's a woman, or purely?
Well, that's a part of the reason. But she's also incredibly incompetent, and we already saw her body of work under Biden, and she literally said, "Oh, if I became," they asked her, "What would you change? Would you change anything?"
Guys, just think about this. Kamala brought out Megan Thee Stallion for the black people. Okay, think about all the people she could have brought out. She brought out Megan Thee Stallion,
and she pretty much said no when she was on The View. That was actually what fucked her up.
Yeah.
So, again, I'm not happy with Trump with what's going on right now, but I still think he was a way better candidate than Kamala Harris.
Okay. And one last question: do you think prejudice has like a good in today's society at all? Like, do you think it does have any benefit?
I think. Okay, so I think being biased, prejudiced, or racist to a degree is actually higher IQ, and I'll tell you why. It's pattern recognition,
okay.
Right? So. And a lot of the times, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, yeah, well, like I think we put so much stake on people's feelings versus like reality, and there's nothing wrong with just being painfully blunt and putting people in boxes. Like that's just how the world works. Like as human beings, we don't have time to get to know everybody, see what their moral character is or whatever else like that. Like a lot of the times, from a survival instinct perspective, you just see somebody, if they come off a little weird, okay, let me just avoid this problem, right? There's a reason why God gave us these senses where you get that, that knot in your stomach, or your heart sinks.
We gotta celebrate our differences.
So, I don't think that there's anything wrong with being biased or prejudiced or racist to some degree, because a lot of times it's rooted in fact. I'll give you an example. I don't want to live in a black neighborhood. I don't think anybody does.
Okay.
And anyone here that says that they want to live in a black neighborhood is fucking lying to themselves and everybody else here. And there's nothing wrong.
And it'd be so funny because it'd be like all the black niggas be like, oh my God, he said he don't want to live in a black neighborhood. Why would he say that? And don't none of them niggas live in a black neighborhood.
Perfect. Admitting that, because we know that on a balance of probabilities, not every single black neighborhood, but a lot of them, you're going to be probably mugged or be involved or in the middle of some kind of crime, or it's going to be a high crime area. And there's nothing wrong with saying that out loud, right?
So I want to build on that you said that they have a higher IQ to a prejudice to some degree. So you stated pattern recognition. So
it's a component of IQ.
Yeah, of course. But I'm saying like pattern recognition. If you're looking at someone who's not around, for example, like a predominantly white neighborhood, goes to college, for example, in a predominantly black neighborhood, do you think they're automatically going to have some sort of prejudice because that's not their environment that they're around, and that's also an example of pattern recognition?
I'm a little confused by your question.
So I'm saying, like, you're saying pattern recognition is an example of higher IQ.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
It's a component. It's not the entire.
Yeah, of course. But I'm saying, like, the reason why they, like, get the pattern recognition is because that's the environment that they're around. For example, if you're around a low crime rate environment that has, like, higher white percentage, you're obviously going to be more comfortable around white folk versus if you're around a black neighborhood, you're going to be more comfortable around black people.
Of course. Your experiences are always going to, help you formulate your worldview.
Okay.
Right? Of course. And there's always going to be exceptions and, differences and everything is nuanced, and exceptions don't make the rule.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying in general, right, is most people probably don't want to live in a predominantly black neighborhood because on a balance of probabilities, it's probably going to be higher crime rate, unfortunately.
Okay.
Right? Does that mean every single one is?
No, of course
not. Yeah. But a lot of them are.
Okay.
So
some
people
niggas
aren't going to gamble with the chance, and I don't think that should be. I don't think there's a problem with admitting that.
Okay.
I'm trying to tell you, it's them niggas. There's black people because it's only like 10% of us. There's black people and then there's niggas. But like I said, it's only like 10% of us, guys. It's not too many black people out there that got some sense. It's nothing but niggas running around, all right? Because they ain't got no daddies. Everybody being raised by their ghetto-ass mama who work at racetrack and McDonald's. All right. I will see you boys on Monday. This was a nice chat today. Shout out to Unc for chatting me up all day today. He is the GOAT. We will be live Monday. Nothing too crazy today. We had a nice listen to Larry Johnson break down what he think is going to happen on Israel and Iran. But other than that, we haven't had nothing crazy. We should be getting ground troops coming in, 10,000 plus is what I heard from Trump. Israel bombed Iran today in Tehran. So we'll see what the weekend holds. You know, they like to do stuff on the weekend. So we'll see what they do on the this weekend. But yeah, I appreciate everybody for stopping by. I will see y'all boys on Monday. Peace!
The bitch shaking it, showing it. You this, you that. We laughing at them together. Oh! So stop treating these like they mean something.
Let's go to TikTok.